Deuces Wild Daily Hustle. Soy Enrique Byrnes y presente esa mejor cerveza. No Abate por No Filter Network. Miguelito Santiaguito not with us this morning. Will the Thrill Clark not with us this morning either, but he will be with us later this evening for the award-winning Deuces Wild podcast. Regardless, as you guys know, each and every single morning we come on here, we like to properly salute our boys and each and every one of you. Yes, 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 yes. Woo. Remember this, folks. When we are juiceful, we are useful. And when we are juiceless, we are fucking useless. A very pleasant good morning to you. Of course, we are brought to you by the Team Go Hard Foot Reflexology Board. You can pick that up at ericbyrnes.com along with the effortless life lessons from a human crash test dummy. Daily Hustle 222 Unfiltered Life Guidance from a human crash test dummy. And Let Them Play, a parenting and coaching guide to youth sports. All right, today's Daily Hustle. And as a matter of fact, it wasn't today's Daily Hustle. It was yesterday's Daily Hustle. But I came on here and did a 36-minute show that did not record, that had no audio, that had no video. So it's a little bit of a Groundhog's Day, but let's do it all over again. The title, 18 years. Daily Hustle quote of the day. When it's too tough for them, it's just right for us. Marv Levy. Daily Hustle translation. Whether it's sports or marriage, well, this shit can be hard. Every single day we face a new challenge and are forced to adapt to constant changes and overcome any and all obstacles we encounter on that daily basis. With today being our it's yesterday now. Yesterday being our 18th wedding anniversary, I'd love to come on here and wax poetic about how perfect our marriage has been. But as most of you daily hustlers know, marriage ain't all rose petals, champagne wishes, and caviar dreams. The reality is that marriage can be a grind. Yet, so long as we are willing to embrace the grind with an overall attitude of gratitude and selflessness, marriage has a potential to create the ultimate partnership bonded by shared experiences that relentlessly nurture the two most important things within human civilization: faith and family. Of course, marriage is tough, and outsiders will always have a misguided and misunderstood perception of our relationships. That said, just want to use this daily hustle to tell Tara that when it's too tough for them, I'm extremely grateful we have figured out a way to make it just right for us. So there you go. There is yesterday's daily hustle regurgitated today. All right, let's get right into one of the things that caught my eye over this past weekend. We were in Half Moon Bay for the Thanksgiving holiday and made our way out to the Stanford Notre Dame game. Now, as many of you know, I grew up a diehard Notre Dame fan. The opportunity to watch them every Saturday. I was a subscriber to Blue and Gold magazine. They were winning national championships. Tony Rice, Rocket Ismail, Tim Brown. We go on and on. Jerome Bettis. I remember being on the field, and I don't know, I had to have snuck on, but I got to see Jerome Bettis absolutely torch the Cardinal back in the day. And so here we were a number of years later. And courtesy of Matt Doyle, the director of football operations at Stanford University, a good buddy of mine, played high school football with him at St. Francis. But he got us onto the field before the game, was able to take the whole family down there. And what a cool scene, man. There is something that's just different about Notre Dame. I don't know if it's the gold helmets. I don't know if it's the way they travel or what, but just an awesome night out there at Stanford Stadium. And thank you to Ryan Sweeney, a good friend of the family, the Sweeney family, who actually had us out to their tailgate. They put on one of the most remarkable tailgates you could imagine. He's a Notre Dame alum. His oldest son, Kyle, is going to be going to Notre Dame to play baseball there. But the one thing that kind of really resonated with me was we go to the game, right? We're on the field before the game, got killer video of the Irish running out of the tunnel. We then were able to actually watch the first two Irish drives, both touchdowns. Jeremiah Love got hurt, was a little scared about that, didn't help his Heisman hopeful status. So he actually dropped after that game. But the one thing about Notre Dame is it's just next man up. And that's what has made them such a good football team this year after dropping those first two games. They've now won 10 consecutive. But we watched the first quarter from, we're standing up from kind of like the corner of the end zone. And then after that first quarter, went back to the tailgate. Want to say goodbye to the Sweeneys, whatever. Watched a good part of the second quarter back at the tailgate on the TV. By halftime, we were in the van, and I had on this iPad that I'm actually doing the show on right now. I was watching the game, and then we go back to Giuseppe Pepe Manueli's house. We get to the point, actually, where we fire away some second half action. And sure enough, Stanford, who was getting blown out, was 35-0 at one point, make a little bit of a comeback. Now, they needed to cover 32. So it was 49-13, I believe. And this kid by the name of Charlie Meyer runs into the game. And immediately, as a Notre Dame fan, long time here, I'm like, huh, that's an interesting spelling of the name, M-I-R-E-R. That's Rick Meyer. I mean, you're on the field of Notre Dame, and Rick, of course, was a Notre Dame legend, second pick overall in the draft, a really long NFL career. And this kid comes out for Stanford, number 17. And everyone was all juiced for him. And I'm thinking to myself, this has got to be Rick's kid. And if it's not, at least he's got to be related. Well, I'm like, turn it up, turn it up. So we're watching the game, and the announcers aren't saying shit. But I'm like, huh. And then you see this kid, he's 6'6", 235 pounds, and whack, throws a dart on his first pass, and you're like, oh, fuck, man. And then right after that, he breaks free for a 20-yard gain or something on the ground. You're like, dude, this guy can run. Well, he ends up throwing a touchdown pass. The Stanford players were ecstatic. Apparently, it was his first action that he's ever gotten at Stanford. And he's now a redshirt junior, I believe. So he does have one more year of eligibility. And then last night, a really good family friend of ours, Sally LaRocca, was here. And she's like, oh, yeah, I guess at the end of the game, our friend's kid got into the game. And I'm like, Charlie Meyer, Charlie Meyer. She's like, yeah. So I did a little research on him. Just a fantastic story. The kid went to Cathedral and was a pretty decent recruit. It looks like at one point he had an offer from Michigan. He ended up at Stanford. And I don't know what happened. Like obviously nobody knows what happened. I probably could reach out to Matt Doyle, like I told you, the director of football ops at Stanford, to figure out why and how this kid has never gotten a shot. But it's just really funny because you think about somebody that probably wasn't even going to play football next year. And all of a sudden he gets on the field. And there's got to be something in his mind going, holy shit, man, I can do this. And I know it was super late. And I realized that you could say, oh, yeah, it was just a couple passes. It's like in baseball. When you see somebody do it, it doesn't take long. I always like to tell people that I could watch a kid play catch, or I could watch a kid literally stand in the batter's box without swinging a bat, and I could tell you if he could fucking play. Charlie looks like he could fucking play. So that'll be a fun story to continue to follow, whether he's an investment banking next year or he's playing college football still. But certainly a full circle moment. I know that Rick Meyer had tweeted something out about it, and yeah, I think he put proud. And this was, I think, before he even got into the game, was just like, oh, hey, Stanford's honoring their seniors and this and that. And just a cool sort of thing. So, all right, Notre Dame, by the way, is going to be in the college football playoff. If you go to any website and sports gambling sort of thing, the odds will actually tell you that Notre Dame is the third best team in the country, behind Ohio State and behind Indiana when you look at those odds. But something that the Irish, and I don't like talking about things we don't want to happen, but if BYU does win and Alabama does win, the Irish are going to be on the outside looking in. It's scary to think about. I don't even want to, I said I wasn't even going to bring it up on the show. I just think it's how backwards the system is. It is pretty fucked up. And then there are schools like somehow, some way, by the way, James Madison, who's 11-1 this year. They haven't had a really nice year. They have a chance to get in the playoff. And I understand what we're trying to do with the Cinderella story and, take schools outside of the Power Four. You got to be careful. If you want to expand it to 16 teams, I get it. I understand. But there's no way, in my humble opinion, you could leave Notre Dame out of that top 12. There's no way, in my humble opinion, you can leave Alabama out of that top 12. You should not be leaving Miami out of that top 12. So, with all of that being said, and I bring up James Madison's coach, Bob Chesney. He has gone 20-5 over 2 seasons with the Dukes. He was hired as UCLA's new head football coach. UCLA coaching search has come to an end. James Madison coach Bob Chesney has been tapped to lead the Bruins to take the first Power Four job of his career. So something interesting about this. Now, Chesney's coached on the East Coast his entire life. Very little roots, I imagine, to the LA recruiting scene. This is where USC and UCLA need to fucking win. If you look at maybe 5 of the top 20 teams in the country, they come from Southern California. These are the guys that we can't lose. These are the kids that you need to keep home. So, as much as I like the Chesney hire, the question then becomes, are we, as in UCLA as a school, going to be able to maintain that strong foothold in the Southern California area? Now, I say maintain. It's tough to say we've maintained it or we've even gotten it because it seems like everybody is going to the SEC. Now, when it comes to paying these kids, and I've had several discussions about this recently, the Power Four top teams generally have a budget of about 20 million bucks. And this is for all NIL. They use 75% of that, so about $15 million to $17 million on football. The rest is used on these other sports. And it makes sense. That's the biggest moneymaker of all of them. Okay, so what does this mean when it comes to trying to build a program going forward? Well, you have to pay these kids not to leave. That is fucking huge. Obviously, Mendoza, who was at Cal as a Heisman frontrunner this year with Indiana, was paid millions to go out to Indiana. So where these other schools are winning are these entire fan bases, businesses, everything, say at LSU, they're getting behind the whole NIL thing. And it's still a little bit of the Wild West, and people are trying to figure out how this works. I read this article, very, very interesting. And it talked about basically the amount that a college transfer, someone who was in the portal, could get, who has seen snaps, who has been proven, as opposed to a 5-4 or 3-star recruit. So the guy who is going to transfer, if you're an offensive lineman, defensive lineman somewhat, but basically an offensive lineman or a quarterback, that's who these schools are paying for. That's when you'll see the 7-figure contracts, at least close to the 7-figure contracts. But even with that, that's after you've proven yourself. If you haven't proven yourself, you could be a 5-star recruit. Now, Michigan's quarterback was a 5-star recruit, and he was going to play right away. That's why he signed a multi-year deal, got 10 million bucks in it. But a normal 5-star recruit that is going to sit on the bench is going to be looking just under $1 million bucks, anywhere from that $500 to $1 million range. Now, you got to be a 5-star. And as it goes down, and say you're a 4-star recruit, well, all of a sudden it just kind of creeps down to that 6-figure sort of thing. If you're a quarterback, offensive lineman, you are generally looking at 6 figures. They do it year by year, though. Makes sense. And the offensive linemen, they want to beef up. They use that first year as a training year, a bulk year, before you actually get into the game. So a lot of offensive linemen, the top ones, sign 2-year deals, knowing that they're not going to see the field very much in that first season. When it comes to the other positions, like a standard recruit to a Power 4 conference, the number is generally between 10 grand and 100 grand. And it varies just based on position, everything else. The guys that are kind of getting screwed on this, the bottom barrel, which isn't fair, but it's the tight ends, it's the safeties, and it is the running backs. It's very similar to the NFL when you look who's drafted where. And I guess the way they look at it is that those guys potentially are more interchangeable. But the entire landscape of college sports is obviously changing, and it'll be fun to see where this thing goes. I I like it. These kids deserve to get paid. And yeah, I do think it's very unstructured right now at this point. It'd be nice to figure out, who should get paid when, and nobody discloses their shit. I mean, that's a whole nother element of this where everyone is keeping it pretty hush hush. All right, let's get to Lane Kiffin briefly. This is the most fucking overblown story in the history of college coaching. It is taxing. The fact that I'm even talking about it again after I exhausted myself talking about this bullshit last night makes me want to throw up. But Lane Kiffin obviously has been at SC, he's been at Tennessee, he's been coordinator at Alabama, he's been with the Raiders. If you look at where he goes and you look at how he leaves, he's always left every single place he's been in somewhat of a disarray. Now, look, these other places have been just fine without him. Alabama goes and wins a national championship without him after he takes. Like it's not a big deal. I get it, and I also don't blame Lane Kiffin for taking this LSU job after leading Ole Miss to the college football playoff. I also don't blame Lane Kiffin for wanting to coach the guys that he's coached to the college football playoff, and I also don't blame Ole Miss for saying, fuck you. I'm not letting this be a poster board sort of opportunity for you to continue to recruit more players to LSU. He's going to bring anybody he seems fit to help him win football games to LSU with him. The players, he'll pay. The coaches, he'll pay. And there's a shit ton of guys that are going to go. Now, he made it sound like the players all want me to coach. Every one of the players want me to coach. If you go ask the players are going to want him to coach, or the players are going to go to fucking LSU with him. That's it. The other guys, I'm sure, are going to be like, fuck off. We're good. We don't care. They actually were more concerned about their position coaches. And if you guys understand how the landscape of college football works, and even in Major League Baseball, say, for example, your manager's your manager. Your head coach is your head coach. The guys you deal with on a daily basis, the guys you're in the trenches with, are the position coaches. It's the hitting coach. That's the guy that I was spending all of my time with. The outfield coach, spending all of my time with. So when you tell those kids that Lane Kiffin's leaving, it's like, yeah, whatever. Not many of them are dealing with Lane Kiffin on an everyday basis, but they are dealing with their position coach. So hopefully this whole thing goes away quickly. I don't get great vibes out of him. I understand. I mean, he's an interesting character. He's certainly different. And say what you want, but when you have Florida and you have fucking LSU going after you the way they did, and you turn around an Ole Miss program, which historically has not been a great program, and went right through the gauntlet of the SEC to come out with an 11-1 record, it's a pretty good job. So obviously this guy is good at what he does. He certainly calls plays uh, as well as anybody in the college game. And he will be going to LSU, and there is going to be a fuck ton of people, players, and coaches following him as well. The interesting thing is going to be how does LSU, or excuse me, how does Ole Miss end up doing in that college football playoff? No, no, we shall see. Okay, the other big story that I actually talked about yesterday was that Browns defenders say that the 49ers Jennings crossed the line with comments he made on the field on Sunday. So multiple Cleveland Brown defenders, including star defensive end Myles Garrett, had sharp criticism of San Francisco 49ers wide receiver Juwan Jennings for comments they said crossed the line during Sunday's game between the two teams. Now, during a break in play due to an injury to Browns defensive tackle Malik Collins, multiple Cleveland defenders were seen exchanging words with Jennings. At one point, Garrett entered the fray next to the ref, and both sides were separated. Quote, I see why Jennings got punched in the nuts. Browns lineman Shelby Harris said after the game, a 26-8 win for the Niners. Quote, he says some things you should not say to another man, ever. But I don't respect it because you say that. Then run behind your O-line. That's some real soft shit, and I want that known. I see exactly why they punched him in the nuts. I'm surprised nobody punched him in the jaw yet. So it was Trevon Moehrig of the Carolina Panthers who punched him in the dick the week before. And then Jennings, after the game, came and gave him like a bitch slap. Jennings was fined 12 grand for the bitch slap at the end of the game. And it was Trevon who punched him in the nuts was fined $65,000 and actually missed a game, last week's win, big win over the Rams. He was suspended. So obviously, you see what's happening on the field. And you saw Jennings and Trevon going at it the week before, and then you see this carry over. I would say this, if you're Kyle Shanahan, the head coach of the 49ers, you got to fucking tone him down a little bit. There's no question about it, because it's one thing when it's just happened to him, but all of a sudden this could lead to other guys getting targeted, penalties, all the other bullshit. But I was going to come on last week after he did get punched in the piece and make this crazy argument and rant how, our guy Trevon from the Panthers should be suspended for multiple games. And it's one of the worst things I've ever seen on a football field. It's bad. It's bad. It's as bad as spitting in somebody's face. Maybe even worse. I mean, that could be a good poll question. Is it worse to spit in somebody's face or punch another man in the piece? I don't know. That's one we certainly could look into. But then you look at the repeat actions and this whole thing happening again, and it's just like, all right, it's time to chill the fuck out, and that is it. Regardless, though, it was a huge victory for the 49ers. The other thing that I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about was Ben Johnson, the Bears head coach, who has got the Bears now 9-3. I mean, this is crazy to think about the turnaround that has happened within a year. It was only about a year ago where they fired their coach. Ben Johnson ends up coming in. They gave him a huge fucking contract. Apparently, it's like $13 million a year. And he's never been a head coach before. He's been a coordinator. He was the Lions offensive coordinator, did such a terrific job over there and turning things around. And here he is now, 24-15 victory over Philadelphia on Black Friday, to take them to 9-3. There is a whole energy that Ben Johnson has created in Chicago. And I don't know if you saw the video. You probably did. I know we posted it on No Filter. But he rips his shirt off after the game. He does the good, better, best chant. It was just fucking awesome. And Joe, yes, buenos dias, good morning to you. That is special. That is something where when you think about what a great head coach is able to do. There's the strategic element of things, obviously, that need to be in place. But then after that, it is about getting the most out of the potential of your players. And so it's really hard to pull that, let's call it the high school, college, rah bullshit at a professional level. And that's why it'll be interesting to see how Tony Vitello does in San Francisco because he's a big energy guy, a big juice guy. How is that going to play with his players? And it's not that big leaguers and it's not that NFL players don't want the energy, don't want the juice, but after a while, it can become a bit draining. And typically, the juice only works when you're winning. So right now with Ben Johnson, it's fucking an incredible atmosphere. It's a great time to be a Chicago Bear and a Chicago Bears fan. And I don't think I've said that since 1985. It is crazy how long it's been since this team has been really relevant. I was excited about the Bears when they drafted Cade McNown being a UCLA guy, and obviously that didn't work out very well. But to have this fan base now get behind this team, it is really, really cool. I actually was at the pickleball courts the other day, and I was showing the video to the guys I was playing with. And there was a guy in the background just playing on another court. It's like, hey, that sounds like the Bears head coach. And then we get into the conversation, and the guy was from Chicago, happened to be a big Notre Dame fan as well. It was really cool. That just goes to show you that there is certainly a buzz happening around Chicago. Last thing here, Josh Allen breaks the NFL all-time rushing touchdown record for a quarterback. No quarterback in the history of the NFL has been better at scoring on the ground than Josh Allen with an 8-yard rushing touchdown in the Bills game against the Steelers on Sunday. Allen became the NFL's all-time leading rusher in touchdowns by a quarterback, notching his 76th rushing touchdown to officially surpass Cam Newton. So, Felicidades to our guy, Josh Allen. The Bills now 8-4. Really interesting playoff picture in the NFL right now. The Chiefs and they could run the table. They have the schedule that they potentially could run the table, but they're on the outside looking in. And it's tough for all of us, I think, to comprehend that at this time. They've just been so dominant for so many years. All right, week 14 power rankings. We'll finish with this. Uh, Another thing I thought I would never fucking say this season. Number one in the power rankings, the New England Patriots. Wow, they're sitting at 11-2. Drake May has been phenomenal. They beat the Giants last night, Monday Night Football, a dominating performance, 33-15. Number two, the Los Angeles Rams. Obviously, they lost that one to Carolina. They were on a hot streak, had won 6 in a row. They lost 31-28, but they certainly are looking the part. Number three, the Denver Broncos are at 10-2. They beat the Commanders 27-26 on what was one of the better games that I've watched all year. I don't sit down and watch too many games. I watch a good amount of this one. Really enjoyed it. The Washington team was fantastic. This is a good football team. Bet on them, and they delivered. We took Washington the over that night, and even though they lost, they missed that 2-point conversion in overtime. I love them going for the 2-point conversion in overtime. You just got to have a play for it. You got to have you got to have that 2-point conversion play where you're like, we get into that game-winning fucking situation. This is this surefire play that works, I don't know, 80-90% of the time. Well, it did not work out for them as they went down to the Broncos. And the Broncos got a horseshoe up their ass. Good team. Certainly a good team. But they keep winning these games by 3 fucking points. They're doing what the Chiefs did last year. So there could be fall off there, especially when you get to the postseason. Seattle Seahawks are 9-3. Holy shit, really? They did look the part, though, man. They beat the Vikings 26 nothing, but you can't even take the Vikings serious at this point with the quarterbacks they're running out there. Green Bay is number 5, 8-3-1. They beat the Lions 31-24. The offense has certainly hit their stride. Jordan Love threw 4 touchdown passes. He looks great. And then the aforementioned Chicago Bears at number 6. I think I put them higher. They beat the Eagles 24-15. Best case scenario for them, a home playoff game. The Bears have won the NFC North just once in the last 14 years. Our playoff simulator gives them only a 37% chance of doing it this year, even though they're the number 1 seed in the NFC, largely because of a difficult remaining schedule that includes games against the Packers. So they have 2 games against the Packers. They play the Lions and the 49ers. Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. They play the Packers this Sunday, 4:25 p.m. Number 7, the Buffalo Bills. All right, we're back in the top 10. Beat the Steelers 26-7 on Sunday. The defense is tearing things around. They did look really good defensively. I don't know if it's a statement about the Steelers' offense, which Aaron Rodgers was bitching about, or it's just a testament to the defense getting better. It says it hasn't been a great year for that side of the ball in Buffalo, but the defense was dominating against Pittsburgh on Sunday. Sure, maybe that says more about the Steelers' offense. Wow. Got a little birdie in here. Than the Bills' defense. But if the Buffalo D can play even average football the rest of the way, this will be a dangerous team come the postseason. Another dangerous team is going to be the San Francisco 49ers. They are starting to look good. Like I said, the 26-8 victory over the Browns. If Jennings can just shut the fuck up and quit getting hit in the dick. Their injury luck flips. It can get much worse for the It can't get much worse for the 49ers injury-wise, right? Now, with a week to get healthy, they'll be a scary opponent in December as Robert Saleh has this banged-up defense playing well. They are playing well. Remember this when you have guys go down. These other guys are playing football in the NFL for a reason. So there's an opportunity for these other guys to step up. All right, number 9 here in the power rankings is the Philadelphia Eagles. They're still 8-4 after the loss to the Bears. The Bears' defense is just okay, yet the Eagles managed only 370 yards of offense and 15 points at home on Black Friday. But we're looking for positives today, and this is an offense that can sort things out, which admittedly feels like a big ask. 13 weeks into the season, Philadelphia should be fine. Philadelphia will be fine. They're at the Chargers, though, so things don't get much easier next week. Chargers are a good football team. And number 10 here, Detroit Lions at 7-5. They lost to Packers 31-24. Amon-Ra St. Brown doesn't miss time. Wait, hold on a second. He did miss time. He got 0 fucking points for me in fantasy. I had no idea he wasn't playing. It says the Lions offense played well on Thanksgiving Day against a good Packers D, but St. Brown is what takes that group to a different level. It doesn't help his prospects that Detroit isn't on an extended break with a second straight Thursday game looming. They play the Cowboys this Thursday. This is going to be the best Thursday matchup we've seen in a long time. All right, the rest of the way. The Texans are at 11, the Colts at 12, the Bucs at 13, the Jags at 14. I mean, the Jags are at 14-8-4. How about the Chargers? The 15th ranked team in the power rankings at 8-4. Then you got Dallas at 6-5-1 at 16, the Chiefs at 17, Carolina at 18. The Ravens at 19. Damn. Tough league, isn't it? Steelers at 20. So you got to go to 21 to get to your first team with a losing record, and that's the Cincinnati Bengals. Then it's the Miami Dolphins, Atlanta Falcons, Minnesota Vikings, Washington Commanders, Arizona Cardinals, New York Jets, Cleveland Browns, New York Giants, New Orleans Saints. I'd probably put the Saints at the worst. Las Vegas Raiders, but then again, how can you forget about the Tennessee Titans 1-11? All right, everyone, have a fantastic day. Joe, if we get a Bills-Bears Super Bowl, that would be fucking fantastic. Oh, my goodness. Super Bowl, by the way, this year in Santa Clara in the Bay Area. So the plan right now is for me to take the family To the Super Bowl. I took them there 10 years ago when the Super Bowl was there, and that was the Broncos in Carolina. We will not see that rematch this season. Broncos could be there. All right, everyone have a fantastic day. Deuces Wild tonight with Will the Thrill, 6 p.m. Pacific.